So formally, good morning. Welcome to Stella Vision. We have a succinct, actionable webinar for you today. While we're well into Q4 and planning certainly has been a long time ongoing, it's always wise to just pause and ensure strategies are on track before heading into the biggest moments of the season. And that's why we're here today, with a focus on consumer sentiment. I'm going to flip. A quick note, if anyone on your team couldn't make it today, you'll receive an email with this recording that you can rewatch or you can forward along to those team members who couldn't join us. And we will also be taking questions, so please place yours in the chat. Today, Candace Deede and Beth Mattix are here to help brands think strategically about the rest of Q4 with insights that will certainly carry into 2026. Candace, in addition to the work shown on this slide, spent a decade agency side and then 4 years leading search and retail media strategy for Campbell Soup Company before joining Stella. Beth's unique perspective from both the brand side and via her previous role as director of sales at Amazon's top third-party seller makes her a true client favorite at Stella. We're lucky to have them both today. Candace and Beth, over to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and good morning, everyone. Beth and I are so thrilled to be here today to walk through Q4 strategies for you. So just to give a quick lay of the land before we start our conversation today, we are going to be starting with recapping Prime Big Deal Days. This just happened a few weeks ago, and what we have found is that what we've observed, from a macro level, as well as with our Stella clients, is a really great way to ground ourselves as we look ahead to the rest of Q4. This is the first major event of the holiday season, and it's a strong barometer for what's to come. We're then going to go through economic and shopper sentiment and how we anticipate that those trends will influence the remainder of the year. We'll then explore category growth opportunities, the key categories that we recommend prioritizing this holiday season, and how to effectively activate against them through retail media. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some key takeaways and we'll open it up for Q&A. So with that, Beth, take it away.
Thank you, Candace. Awesome. So coming out of Prime Big Deal Days 2025, the consensus among Stella Rising team members and also our clients was that this event just felt different. It really seemed to lack some of the buzz and excitement that we've seen during past Prime events. And the biggest indicator that that lack of buzz might have resulted in a softer event is Amazon's silence in the weeks following Prime Big Deal Days. So in stark contrast with what we've seen in past tentpole events, Amazon still has not issued a press release following Prime Big Deal Days 2025. This really suggests to us that sales might have been a bit weaker than anticipated, very likely driven by ongoing concerns about the economy, inflation, and the rising cost of living. So in lieu of having an official press release from Amazon, we dug into reports from Forbes, Numerator, and eMarketer to broadly understand how consumers shopped during Prime Big Deal Days and what that means for the upcoming holiday season. So according to these reports, we see that 23% of Prime Big Deal Day shoppers purchased holiday gifts. This is down slightly from 26% last year, but we're also seeing that 84% of Prime Big Deal Day shoppers said that they do plan to shop on Amazon again for holiday gifts and items within the next 3 months. So consumers might be less willing to plan their purchases too far in advance right now, but they do still plan on doing some holiday shopping on Amazon very soon. We're also seeing that 61% of Prime Big Deal Day shoppers also shopped during this year's supersized Prime Day in July. This is showing us that customers continue to engage with both events. They're not playing favorites. When we compare purchase behavior between Prime Big Deal Days to July Prime Day, we're seeing that the Prime Big Deal Days average order size was down by about 15% compared to July, and 44% of orders were for less than $20. Again, we're seeing that consumers might be growing a bit more cautious with their discretionary spending, especially heading into the holiday shopping season. When we look at what customers bought during Prime Big Deal Days, we see that 28% of shoppers said they purchased everyday goods. They took advantage of discounts on items that they planned on purchasing anyway. This is absolutely the approach that I took with my shopping during Prime Big Deal Days this year. And I think this is really evident as well when we look at the best-selling categories during Prime Big Deal Days, which were apparel and shoes, household essentials, and beauty. So notably absent from the top three, electronics and toys, which we always associate with holiday shopping. Lastly, we're still seeing that consumers are shopping around during these events online for the best deal. Over half of Prime Big Deal Day shoppers said that they compared prices with other retailers like Target, Walmart, and Costco. And some of those retailers actually held competing sales that overlapped directly with Prime Big Deal Days this year. So in addition to looking at these macro level insights, we of course dug into performance across our own Stellar Rising clients, and we're really excited by what we found. What we saw is that most Stellar Rising clients experienced sales growth during Prime Big Deal Days 2025. And this was really driven by enticing promotions, external traffic drivers from social, press, affiliate, and of course, an expertly executed full funnel advertising strategy, which we kicked off weeks before the event. Overall, our Stellar Rising client sales were up by about 13% year over year, and we saw nearly 5x lift versus average year-to-date daily sales. We did see that sponsored ads were up by about 5%. Sponsored ads CPCs were up by about 5% year over year on average. This is highlighting to us just the increased competition that we've continued to see on Amazon, which is even more fierce during tentpole events. And then in terms of the day-to-day breakdown, for our clients, day two had a slight edge over day one. Nearly 2/3 of our clients saw their peak sales on that second day of the event. So with Prime Big Deal Days officially in the rearview mirror, we're already applying these learnings to our strategy for the upcoming holiday season. What we're also doing, though, is considering the current economic and consumer sentiment outlook, which Candace is going to take us through next.
Thank you, Beth. So as we saw from the Prime Big Deal Days results, economic pressures are leading to tighter spending. Data from eMarketer validates this, indicating that consumers are planning to spend less this holiday season. About half of consumers that were surveyed by a Basis Technologies survey said that they're going to spend the minimum necessary on gifts this year due to economic concerns. And when they are shopping, deals are that number one motivator, more important than convenience, reviews, or ratings. Another key shift we want to note here is that in-store sales are projected to be flat year over year. So this is the first time we've seen this in many years. E-commerce sales are expected to grow, but only at 4.2%, which is compared to 8 to 9% in previous years. So that growth is slowing. So while growth remains positive, with that rate of growth slowing down, context is going to be key here. Brands should be level setting their expectations that even single digit growth year over year should be seen as a win in this environment. But that said, I do think it's worth noting that while we often talk about the US consumer at a very macro level, our brands really need to know their specific audiences. So as an example, a higher income consumer, they're still going to be spending versus a lower income household may be feeling more of that pressure. So it's really essential to tailor your strategies to your unique consumer segments and based on your category, which Beth is going to take us through next.
Okay. As Candace mentioned, consumers are going to be increasingly deal obsessed this holiday season. But of course, some product categories are going to feel more of that Q4 spike than others. High demand and highly giftable categories that we're watching closely include electronics and gaming, toys, beauty and personal care, home and kitchen, and seasonal consumables. And all of these categories are actually expected to see an increase in online holiday spending this year. The big three, Amazon, Target, and Walmart, will once again dominate retail e-commerce this holiday season. But channel nuances mean that consumers are going to gravitate to different retailers depending on what's on their shopping list. Amazon will continue to be the go-to retailer for electronics and gaming purchases, but they're going to share the playground a bit with Target and Walmart when it comes to toys and games. Beauty and personal care shoppers will prioritize Amazon and Target for both gifts and personal care, self-care purchases, with Amazon being able to appeal to both mass and premium beauty buyers. Target is most likely to be the retailer of choice for home and kitchen buys, whether that's for holiday entertaining or for gifting purposes. And last but definitely not least, Target and especially Walmart's grocery category dominance mean they're most likely to satisfy customers' holiday snack and beverage needs. So regardless of where the customer's shopping, brands who are looking to win this holiday season need to make sure they're activating the right retail media strategy. Candace is going to take us through some best-in-class recommendations next.
Thank you, Beth. So while there are nuances per retailer, there's a few foundational retail media strategies that every brand should be prioritizing this holiday season. Number one is audience refinement. So, with an increasingly competitive landscape, a more costly landscape from a retail media perspective, it's more and more important to be reaching the right consumer at the right time, in the right place for the most efficient cost. So, using learnings from the fall events is going to enable us to reach those high intent audiences early and leverage them during that lead in to build interest. So, targeting those refined consumer segments is going to boost efficiency and reduce your overall CPMs and CPCs, which is exactly what we want to see this holiday season. The next, of course, is retail readiness. So ensuring that your PDPs and your brand stores are optimized with holiday creative and key products front and center. A seamless holiday ready experience is going to drive conversion and maximize your ad effectiveness. You're also going to want to make sure to maintain your brand identity across all of your retailers. You want to be sending the same message to your consumer about why your product is the one they should choose, the reasons to believe. But that said, customizing your promotional messaging toward each retailer's core consumer and audience will also help to, enhance your success there. So for an example, we know that premium beauty consumers are more likely to purchase at Amazon and Target, and you can sort of customize your messaging, your promotions based on that if you're in that category. And then finally, of course, premium placements. First, maintaining always on branded search to protect your digital shelf visibility. You do not want a consumer who's intending to buy your product to switch to a different brand because a competitor won your branded auction versus you. So this is going to be highly, critically important. Funding sponsored products robustly. Sponsored products are going to be the foundation of your holiday visibility on the digital shelf. So make sure that they are funded as a foundational tactic. Sponsored brand and display. These are great tactics to reinforce your awareness and to help with conversion, especially utilizing those great seasonal creatives. Investing in video placements as well, utilizing retailer DSPs. Again, you can reach those really refined audiences with a meaningful message to boost your overall brand lift. These are tactics that really float all boats, regardless of where your consumer is choosing to shop, but you get the added benefit of first-party retailer data, and of course, you get attribution data if the consumer does convert based on that video. And then finally, retailer-specific page takeovers, if possible. These can be really effective, especially during that Black Friday, Cyber Monday period where you're getting maximum exposure in front of your consumer. These packages can be quite costly, but we have found that they have been very effective for our brands that utilize them at these really key moments in time. So to wrap things up, a couple final thoughts before we get into our Q&A. So first, we can expect that there's going to be a softer holiday season, but we really want to set realistic goals as a result and measure success within that context. Strong promotions are going to be key here. We're talking upwards of 30 to 50% off. This is going to be critical to capture consumer interest and conversion during this highly conversion-focused event later this season. Focusing on your key categories like electronics, toys, beauty, they're going to continue to dominate, especially during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And then finally, a well-coordinated advertising strategy leading into, during, and after Black Friday and Cyber Monday is going to be essential for success. It's called Black Friday for a reason. That 5-day window is going to make or break Q4, so you need to make sure your brand is ready. And with that, we would love to open up for Q&A.
Thank you both so much. Sorry, our amazing designer pulled a fast one on me. I didn't realize that last time animated. That was so well done. Quick, to the point, informative. A couple questions came in. One was from a client who attended, we did a webinar with Google recently, and they mentioned that it's a slightly different holiday season this year because there's no mass national election, which really impacted the first 10 days of November last year, but it is pretty crunched period from the end of Black Friday, Cyber Monday to the 25th of December. How do
Mhm.
you both view timing this year? What do you think is going to impact it most?
Yeah, that's a great question, Elizabeth. You know, to take the first point in terms of the election impact, I think that there was a lot of maybe consumer distraction during that time last year. And we all know that when there are election cycles in place, that can drive up CPMs, particularly when it comes to the programmatic video space. While we won't have those pressures this year, we are seeing just increasing costs across the board when it comes from an advertising perspective, just because of increased competition, more brands vying for those eyeballs from consumers. So I do think that, using last year as a baseline is still the right approach to take when you're evaluating year over year success in terms of efficiency, sell through, et cetera. That said, we are about to enter a very short holiday season again. I think this year we have one extra day between Thanksgiving and Christmas, but it's really, a very heightened holiday season in terms of the timing of Thanksgiving this year. So, what I anticipate that we're going to see as a result of that is consumers are going to be leaning more into convenience when it comes to making their holiday purchases. I think we're going to see a lot more of those purchases coming from e-commerce, ship to home, utilizing Amazon versus going into the retail store. The e-marketer data also validates that, and store sales are going to be totally flat, whereas where there is growth is coming from e-commerce sales. So very similar trends, I think, when we look year over year, but with that added layer of a potential for a slower rate of growth this year due to all of the other economic factors we discussed.
Thank you. Someone is asking for an example of a retailer who is using retail media most creatively. Bonus points for Stella clients, but I won't lead to too much bias.
Sure. Another great question. I would say that we tend to find that Amazon is the most creative when it comes to their retail media applications. Amazon has always been, I think, the benchmark, if you will, to meet when it comes to retail media activation. They're always coming out with new betas. Of course, Amazon Marketing Cloud was a first within the industry, and I think has been a game changer for a lot of our clients. If I could give an honorable mention, it's probably Walmart. I think that they have been doing some really amazing things when it comes to utilizing their first party data. They have a great relationship with the trade desk to run their DSP. So I think that some of the things we're seeing out of Walmart Connect as well are really creative and exciting. And for a lot of our brands, there is, increased importance on Walmart as a retailer of choice. So I would say it's probably the two of those guys.
One more that came through was, you really made a lovely point around the emphasis on discounting and promotions this year. Maybe you could both speak a little bit more as to specificity around best practices in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to jump in on this one. This is, I think with the economic climate and tariffs and everything going on in 2025, this has been a hot topic. It's something that we're talking with our clients about all the time. How can we be promotional without, while still being profitable, right? We don't want to sacrifice profitability for unprofitable growth, and we also don't want to train consumers to just only purchase when there's a discount. And I think this time of year, it's even more of a hot topic because everywhere, but especially on Amazon, this is a very, very promotional time period. We just ended Prime Big Deal Days 2 weeks ago. Our beauty brands just embarked, many of them just embarked on Holiday Beauty Haul on Amazon, which is a 2 week long event. And then Amazon and other retailers have now come to extend the Black Friday, Cyber Monday shopping period. I know Amazon, we always laugh. We're kind of wondering, like, how many days is it going to be this year? It used to be, 5, then 7, then 9. It's now 12 days. We'll see if they extend that further. But I think this really, there's a lot going on and that's just Amazon, right? Sephora is about to have a sale. Other retailers are doing sales as well. So I think when it comes to promotions, some of the things that we're recommending to clients are, really take a look at your brand and how promotions make sense for your brand. You do not have to promote everything, and you also don't have to participate in every single promotional event that is taking place on that retail platform. We have some brands that sit out some of the smaller events, and I think that's totally fine, especially during this time of year, again, where it's going to be promotion after promotion after promotion. But I also think that there are some ways that we can really lean into smart promotions, not just doing, a big slash discount off of the entire catalog. You can, to Candace's point about looking, customers looking for that deeper discount, you can offer a product or a handful of products at a higher discount and then scale back that promotion for your other items that you're offering. We have also seen and are recommending to clients to lean into, on Amazon in particular, things like subscribe and save discounts. Lean into those intentional discounts where you're offering a discount, but you're, doing so to drive loyalty in the future. There are also some fun things that, our 3P brands can do with brand tailored promotions where they have, audiences that they can offer promotions to drive customer acquisition or repeat purchases. So it doesn't have to be this just, slash discount that, really erodes your margin. There can be a way to do it wisely. And I think that those are some of the most exciting conversations that we're having with our brands right now who want to participate, but they want to do so in a way that makes sense for them and for their bottom line.
I'll layer onto that too. Something that we found during the Prime Big Deal Days event is that leveraging your products within your catalog that are most likely to drive new to brand sales, that can be a really great way to pick and choose which products to promo more heavily. Because if you know that a certain product is going to drive new to brand, it's going to get a consumer to be a loyal customer for you in the long run. The juice is worth the squeeze. You should be promoting that product and you'll get overall not only a more successful event in the moment, but you're going to be gaining new consumers for the long haul as well. So I think that's another really thoughtful way to think about it, even though in the short term, you might feel a little bit of the pain because of the margins, but in the long term, it's really going to pay off in dividends.
Smart. Thank you both so much. I think we are set. I just want to add, it's as we've talked about, it's a really busy time. We're going to be full force for our clients in Q4. I think you're both also popping up at a couple events. We'll be at Beauty Connect and Amazon Unboxed over the course of the next month. So, to everyone tuning in, we hope to see you at one or both of those events. And I just want to again thank you both so much for being here today. Thank you to the audience for being here today. We will be following up with the recording again, as I mentioned. And please always reach out to us. You can find us through our website. You can subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on our social channels, reach out. We would love to connect with you. And Beth and Candace, thank you again so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.